Welcome. You made it back. You made it to Living Limitless. Play your way to freedom. We are here to connect with you, join with you as you connect, play, and awaken to your power, your freedom, your expansiveness. I'm Andrea Luzon, and today I'm excited to talk with Shara Ogin. And let me tell you a little bit about her. Shara has worked in the medical field and as a life coach and clairvoyant for more than 25 years. She is the author of 2 books and 5 DVDs on healing. And she currently runs 3 programs, a group coaching program, an intuition development program, and the Body That Heals Itself, an online program. And at this moment, I would love to, in her own words, hear a bit from you, Shara. I'd love to hear in your own words about your work and especially what inspires you to stay in the work. So
Okay.
thank you, Shara.
Thank you. Thank you. So right now I am working as an intuitive coach, meaning psychic readings and coaching. And well, my latest big endeavor has been writing this book. I've spent 4 years writing it, but really the last 4 months, that's what I did in my quarantine. It was nose to the grind. And my inspiration for writing this book was really that I was working with people and doing energy healings. I'm also, I didn't mention this, but I'm also a somatic Feldenkrais practitioner. So before quarantine, I was actually doing hands-on sessions. And regardless, if it's hands-on or psychic or coaching, regardless, people's pain would go away. It was like amazing and incredible. And most people don't come to me just for pain anymore. They used to when I was working in the medical, but now they come to me more for like life purpose or just, looking for love or just something's not quite right in their life and they want to take it to the next level and they're looking for a spiritual advisor, spiritual healer. That's kind of the crux of my clientele now. But also, we all have that pain in the neck or that carpal tunnel or that foot something. And so it's a secondary, as a secondary component, when I do my intake with people, I do ask now all the time what is going on in the physical body. And sometimes people do come to me, like I have a client just for Lyme's disease. Sometimes people come to me just for the physical. But my point is that the physical would always go away when I was doing these sessions. And so that's my inspiration for writing this book that I wrote called Unlocking the Body's Wisdoms, Accessing Your Healing Powers from Within, which is kind of a crux of kind of my last 4 years of work around working with the emotional body, how the limiting beliefs and the thoughts that you're feeling and the unmet needs that are unhealed play a role to somaticize into our body and create physical pain states and ailment. And then I also delved a lot into ancestral patterns. That's a big part of my work. And I also work as a psychic a lot with past lives, but I wrote it into my book and then I took it out at the 11th hour. I didn't want to be too woo because I'm a pretty mainstream person.
Yeah. Wow. I could totally go down the rabbit hole of asking you questions.
So totally.
Oh, yes.
It's a book and a workbook. This is my author
I'm
copy.
going to write this down.
So I actually wrote 3 books. I didn't count the workbook as a book because they kind of go hand in hand. The workbook is all lessons, like some of my favorite that I use in coaching practice, because I want people to get to a point where they could practice on their own and heal themselves. It's got to be kind of both, like sometimes we can only take ourselves so far and we want someone to take us just a little further.
Yes.
So my specialty is ending patterns, deep karmic patterns. And we all probably during quarantine, during coronavirus, this is the time where our patterns kind of hit the fan. We become so much more aware of them. And so I have a special ability to kind of see what specifically, more than what meets the eye, a person could just be with me for like 2 minutes and I can already usually see what is their main block and what is they'll come to me. Everybody comes to me because they want something. So we look at what you want and then I could see what the energy blocks are standing in the way. So that's my special sauce, is helping them to clear it.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that that work is so important of each of us individually looking at our blocks and finding the tools, finding a person to help us get through them. So it sounds like a person could do the book and the workbook. And then if they're struggling with, let's say accountability, then they may need a little bit of help.
So the book and the workbook are great books for everybody to have for reference books, in case you get an ailment or disease. And the workbook is, it's one of some of my favorite coaching exercises. So people could just work through on their own, like changing their own beliefs and finding their own integration and a process. There's one process to help them to get out of pain through asking very introspective questions. One of my ideas, and I'm kind of curious how well this is received, if anybody wants to, send a thumbs up or give me feedback on this idea, is getting together a group to go through the workbook. Because I do these processes with my coaching clients, and it's always so much more intense when I do it with them, because there's a way I could see the things that the person can't see, aspects of themselves, like an aspect of your identity you might need to surrender, give up in order to release control. So I like to give these things for homework and then to work through it with them. And then it's basically an opportunity to find your blind spots.
Mm.
That's sometimes where the gold is, sometimes if we just shape those blind spots, we could take a big step forward on our evolution.
Yes, it sounds like you're really good at holding space for people in hearing. Oh, a leader that I adore, Michael Strasner, he talks about hearing the music behind the words.
Mm.
So it sounds like you've got some intuitive skills where you're able to hear what might be causing the
I
issue.
hear red flags,
You're like red flags.
you want and where are you now, and then what's the gap?
Love that. That is outstanding. Well, speaking of gaps, and I'd like to talk. Everyone who has been part of the series has been so wonderful about being vulnerable and real, and talking about your story, or maybe your old paradigms, old stories. So I'd love to know, was your path to this work a slow progression, or did you have what happens to a lot of us, which is the breaking down to break through situation?
Yeah, it wasn't a sudden overnight thing that happened. It was a process over time. And my story is I never believed in myself. And I always felt on the outside and not good enough. And I compared myself to people. And so even though I had some success in my career, I was happily employed, even I wasn't planning to be a coach. It was never my intention, or a psychic. I never believed in psychics when I was growing up, in fact, coming from a very mainstream medical background, science. I I would do my, 9 to 5 job. I'd come home, I'd make dinner, I'd go to the gym, and then the next day. And I realized I was so void of depth and connection in my life. So that was the first big red flag, that throughout my 30s, I really wanted to explore that. Why don't I feel happy? Why don't I feel satisfied? And then as I entered the next decade, that was the big, like, okay, here I checked off a lot of the boxes in my life of what I wanted to be, but I don't feel fulfilled at all. And worst of all, I hadn't really had a deep relationship, a deep fulfilling relationship, let alone being a mom. That was like so far out. Like I just accepted that was never, ever, ever going to happen. So that's when I did a deep dive, and I just committed to a 3-year clairvoyant training. And I actually, and before that, I did several coaching trainings. So maybe 20 years of interpersonal skills, and then 2 deep, intensive coaching trainings. And then came the Reverend Clairvoyant training. And I only did it for myself. I did it solely because I wanted to be happy. And then what happened is, as I went through the process, my entire life changed by the second year of the second or third year of the clairvoyant training. Everything shifted. Everything from my belief, I shifted every single limiting thought and limiting belief. And of course, the circumstances around me started to shift dramatically. And then as I was giving readings to people, I started to see that I had the ability to evoke the same shift in other people. And I call this the wave you cannot run. I was like, oh my God, maybe this is more meaningful to me than this other very meaningful thing I was doing. And so here I am. And that's my purpose right now. It's less focused on myself and more focused on, I really want to help people, to specifically women, to step into the life that they want.
I love that. I love how the clairvoyance really launched you forward. It changed your life.
She'd never seen anybody in all of her 20 years of working at the school shift to the degree I did. So it was very dramatic. I mean, my first year was all crying because, I had so many limiting beliefs, so many aspects of myself I was out of acceptance, out of alignment with, and I just felt awful. Like I would wake up every day not feeling good about who I was in my body, feeling so shameful for the person I was. So how am I going to attract a boyfriend then, right?
Yes. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing so openly the path that has brought you to your current work. That's really outstanding. And so I'd love to help. I'd love to showcase any tools that you use to move through triggers. I'm wondering if there are any viewers out there who are feeling a struggle on occasion, or they feel like there's something in their life they come up against something that's out of alignment or doesn't resonate, or they envision one situation and then it ends up being something else, something that they're not vibing with. So how do you move through that, and or how do you recommend that your clients move through a triggering moment?
Yeah. Well, first of all, my mind just went in like 10 different directions. And here's the cool thing, the processes are in my book, some of them. Okay.
Mm.
I have one process that's not in my book, and it's called programming, reprogramming. So we have a instant trigger reaction. Our husband comes in and he says, "Why did you blah, blah, leave the dishes in or do whatever?" And your tension pattern and then your reaction pattern happens a certain way. So there's a process I take people to just stop that pattern, whatever is about to happen. Here's one of the keys is if you change one aspect of that pattern, like your breath, because usually if you're about to go into a defense trigger reaction, you're going to clench, hold your breath, and just get either ready for attack or withdrawal, whatever your mechanism is. So before that happens, as soon as the trigger is initiated, shift to something like you're breathing,
Mm.
also bringing your energy down into your feet. That's
Oh,
one really quick tool that I sometimes use with people.
yeah.
But one thing I do want to say is if you're going into a spiral, and every time you have a negative thought, that's going to bring you on a downhill spiral. It's much easier to think more self devastating thoughts. Then, um, the, first of all, one positive thought is one step in the opposite direction, however that looks. Even if you're feeling isolated and alone, just connecting into source energy in whatever way you can to feel a little bit better than what you're feeling today. But the other thing I want to say about that is the truth is it's a way that you haven't really learned to love yourself, and it's not really the truth. The truth about, so in my book, I mapped out maybe 20 different limiting beliefs that we all have some fragment of, but we have usually two or three of them mainly, one to three of them mainly, like we're crippled by these in our lifetimes. And so this belief we have to dispel and
Mhm.
show ourselves how this is not really the truth. So I have a process. I have many processes for how to do that. You just have to buy the book to get the details.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that one in action.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun. Dispelling a that just sounds fun. Dispelling a misbelief or a
Yeah. A limiting belief. Like it's one
yeah,
of the 20. I'm on the outside. I'm a
yeah.
fraud. I'm not good enough. Something like that.
Mhm.
Uh, there's an aspect of that we're missing the truth. I'm unworthy. This is a belief we've been living our entire life, probably since the age of 4 or 5, since our youngest years. We've been
Mhm.
living this lie.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that we're pretty well programmed by the age of 8.
Absolutely. I sometimes say by the age of 5, absolutely.
Yeah.
You are.
Our wow. Well, thank you for sharing how you some action steps that we can take to move through triggers. I really think that can help me, that can help someone listening. And so we did talk earlier about a demonstration. If there are any processes from your work that you feel called to share with our viewers, whatever resonates.
I think I'm just going to leave it at the one I shared, because my demonstrations could take a lot of time and, for the interest of the viewers.
Okay, good to know. All right. So, since our series is called "Living Limitless: Play Your Way to Freedom," I would love to hear about how you incorporate play in your personal life or your career to help you stand in your freedom, your power, your expansiveness.
Yeah. So one thing I really love is group programs because it's so easy for us to feel isolated. I mean, even before coronavirus,
Hmm.
isolation was a big thing. It's for me,
Hmm.
for everybody. And so in the group programs, I want to create a space of where people get connection And connection when you're doing deep work is much different than the connection you feel like when you're going to a social party or something. And so that's what most excites me. That's playful. And in the call, we have fun. I mean, we do serious, deep, hardcore stuff, but then we also have fun because I'm a
Mhm.
fun person. I like to have a little laughter every day. But
Mhm.
also, I have a 2.5-year-old, and she makes me laugh. I just commit to having fun with her and playing with her every single day. We have a morning, every time I'm driving her to school or daycare, we laugh for 30 seconds in the car. That's my morning ritual with her.
That is a beautiful ritual. I think that we all should set a 10-minute timer or even a 2-minute timer every day and pull up a favorite piece of a comedy routine or something and get us down into our gut, into our laughter.
Just laughing releases feel good hormones like opioids and dopamine, which is the dopamine's the connection hormone. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Wow, I love that. Let's all do more laughing. So, we were talking about the title of the series in regards to living limitless. And when I say living limitless, what comes forward to you, or what does that mean in your life?
It's a feeling. I feel like when a lot of us are in the 9 to 5 job, job, we feel trapped. I think it's a very common experience for us to feel trapped, whether we're feeling trapped in our relationship or trapped in our financial situation. And when we break free of that, I really feel like that's our innate selves who are put onto this planet to be. When you're a baby, you have this freedom in your chest and this freedom to move your arms and all of that. So really, I feel like life is a journey back to finding that place and to unlearn so many of the things that we learned throughout our lives.
Mm,
Find that place with spaciousness and freedom. That's
yes.
that's when I know I'm there. You know what I mean? It's not
Mhm.
about the dollar amount. It's not about how many podcasts or speaking engagements. It's finding that space and knowing that I could influence other people in that way.
Mhm. I love that. It really does start with the unlearning and then moving into the spaciousness.
Mhm.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. We did talk a little bit about practices or a little bit about responding to triggers, but I would love to hear. You're such an evolved, wise woman that I'd love to hear what your practices are to to keep your vibration high, or
Practice.
to, yeah, practices that you keep you in an expanded state.
Well, this is where you people come in because the more readings and energy healings I do, we live in a law of attraction universe. So by healing you, I heal myself.
Mm,
That's that. And then after I do a reading or healing, I take a moment and I reflect upon what is the resonant field within inside myself. And then
mm,
I do a kind of I call it clean out, an energy clean out. Okay. So every morning, another practice of mine is I used to have a practice where I jump out of bed and be like, I'm happy and doing a I'm happy jumps. That's like happiness training. That's a good one. If I could make a suggestion.
mhm,
I bring that into like my programs, so my group programs, practices like that, like silly, funny practices like that.
mhm,
But my morning practices every morning when I breastfeed my baby for about 10 minutes, I do say a prayer. I do a little just meditation. I look at what needs to be looked at. I balance my chakras and align my chakras. And I put my hand on my heart and I say, what do I need to know to be a 10? What do I need to know right now?
mm,
So I ask for guidance for my focus and my direction. And then I also create a bit of a plan, like what do I, and I might not always get to the plan part in the morning 10 minutes, but I do start my morning kind of creating a visual plan for the day. And
mm,
then I just go do it. And I'm very athletic, so I'll just go hop on my bike. I'm
mm.
very efficient with my time.
Wow, I'm hearing you say that you are grounding in, but also going up. Kind of, it sounds like I love the idea of asking for guidance. What do I need to know?
Yeah.
Did you say to be a 10? What do I need to know to be a
What do I
10?
need to know to be a 10? Or this morning, I think I phrased it something like, what do I need to know to be my highest and best self?
Mm,
something to that.
yeah,
The spirit already knows my question, so something like that. But also
right.
make it a big practice to take in the cosmic energy and the earth energy, because very often we are one or the other. Like if you're someone who
Mm,
struggles with anxiety and fear, you're definitely on the up, and most likely you tend to unground. That used to be me.
mm,
And so I really just balancing is where you're going to get your most information, the most alignment. I used to be very confused and had a difficult time with decisions. And then the more I broaden these practice of balancing alignment and connecting to the current vibration of the planet, the earth energy, then decisions and questions come much easier.
Wow, I love that. We have a long list of practices. I'm envisioning you jumping out of bed and doing a star jump and saying, "I'm happy. I'm happy." It's a really fun visual. Like,
Yeah.
that sounds fun. Or whatever your mantra is. I am XYZ.
Yeah, you could put anything in there for that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
A big fun jump as you get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very mindful, very focused, very grounding. We talked about your practices.
Lots of times when we're in our like 9 to 5, a lot of computer jobs right now, we get off balance. Anybody who sits in front of the computer all day will, you'll most likely disconnect from the upper chakras. Especially if you're in a dead level job. And so as spiritual women, who I think most people listening to this podcast are, we really want to open up our crown chakra. And, that sounds really woo. You don't have to think about it in the woo chakra terms. It's just inviting in higher conscious energy and also connecting to the earth. If there's anything I want you to leave with, it's that connection from both ends.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be easier said than done, but once I took you through it once, you would know how to do it.
Yeah. And you're sure you don't want to lead one of those today?
Well, you could do it right now. You could just shut your eyes and you can imagine gold light energy coming in through the crown of your head. Go ahead. And this is energy from the cosmos. I'll help you. I'll just go ahead and bring it in. And then let's bring in energy from beneath our feet and energy from beneath your grounding cord. Go ahead and bring in the gold light energy from the earth. And let's let the cosmic and the earth energy meet in your pelvis. And let's go ahead and mix the cosmic and the earth energy in your pelvis. Now, if you have any resistance to bringing in one, that's a longer process, but you could just notice it right now. There's things we could do about that. And then let's go ahead and take the mixture up your spine, up your body. And when it gets to your throat, let it split, let it go down your arms. Yeah, so I'm really looking at you with your energy really flowing down and out through your fingertips. That's important for creation, so important. And then let that energy come up through the crown of your head. And let it waterfall out over your crown chakra and engulf your entire aura with a gold light vibration. Beautiful. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And see if you notice a shift right now, Andrea, and everybody else doing this with me. Subtle shift. It's a shift in your level of presence. And you can really feel what I'm talking about around the earth energy and the cosmic energy. Because when I look at you, Andrea, when I feel you, you do feel connected through both ends. And that's what being a connected being really is. And when you're connected and aligned, you're most correlated to your truth, the truth you speak, the truth that you show up as. That's who you are. And you're balanced and aligned. And you can go ahead and open your eyes.
Just gonna hang out there for a while.
Yeah.
Just keep hanging out.
Great.
I loved the visualization. I was able to really follow it.
Good.
And when you had the energies mixing, I instantly saw a portal like right behind my eyelids. It was really like when you see the galaxy from far away and it's a bright light with like a swirl.
Yeah.
That was really interesting. I actually got a little bit dizzy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with the viewer, with the person watching. Hopefully you were able to sit still for a moment and that you weren't driving.
Yeah, I used to do these, and I probably will do them again, these energy healing classes. Because I sometimes feel when people come to a podcast, they're not ready to like just go into Zen state. But I bring people into the Zen states when they come to my classes. That's the plan,
Yeah.
to start up those again. So
Yeah.
on my email list, I'll let you know about those.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I do want to give you space to talk about the gift that you, or any perk or gift that you'd like to share. I'm sure that someone who is watching and is really saying, "I'd like to follow Shara more closely and experience her work." So, what is that?
Yeah, so I have a couple gifts for you. The first gift is I have a purpose workbook. It's Unleash Your Purpose workbook. The URL is sharaogin.com / purpose hyphen workbook. So my name is spelled SHARAOGIN / purpose dash workbook. I know you're going to put that somewhere. And
Yes.
then the second gift is I'm offering a free 10 or 15-minute energy reading, which includes a reading if you want one topic to be looked at and clearing. So I'm going to offer that to the first 10 people who take me up on it. And you could go ahead. I'll just put my direct link for the calendar to schedule a time. So I'll give that to Andrea and she can connect that to you.
Yes, outstanding. We'll make
Yeah,
sure that there's a link right below the video
yeah,
so that they
wonderful.
can click on that and make sure to get that from you. Both of
Yeah,
those options sound wonderful.
they are. And also, wait, this is my book. I'll just kind of keep going with my offers. My book, Unlocking the Body's Wisdom, Accessing Your Healing Powers from Within, is on sale at Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. It's being released January 29th, but pre-sales are before that. And also my group programs are going to, I just literally opened the doors to the group programs. And so that will be going on in a few months from now. So if you want more
Mhm.
information, just let's talk.
Yes, I love that. Since you were talking about the book, I would love to hear a little bit about. It sounds like as you were writing it, you were doing a ton of research so that it was well studied and backed, lots of support. So I'm hearing a strong story of resilience, and I'm really finding a, a fascinating topic being, are creativity and resilience intertwined? And I'd love to know if you think that it is or isn't, and more about that.
I love that. Yes. Okay, I have to like think about that just for a moment.
That's okay.
For the research was all from in here. It was through many readings. I got the information I needed for the book.
Mhm.
Resiliency is a very important word for this year. And so part of my practice right now is creating myself to be more resilient. And I think that's also one of my offerings through the book, is through showing people a roadmap towards healing, whatever their specific diagnosis is. My intention is to build a sense of resiliency with inside themselves. So when the same things happen that are causing them to have the emotional and the physiological state, which then goes along with the physical ailments, there will be some sense of support structure within inside of that person. This is going to help you in all areas, whether it's financial abundance, love, career, family, health. I don't know if that quite answered your question.
Well, I love that you already have, well, of course, I mean, we're into January now of 2021, but I love how you already have found a word or a group of words that is propelling you forward into the year. It sounds like you have a lot more to share about resilience if you want to
That's
talk
what
about
this
that.
year is going to be out. 2021 is about resiliency. So find your resiliency from within, whatever's going on in the world, whatever thing is going on in your own personal world, find your resilience, and that will align with your seniority and have you be a much more powerful person out into the world.
Awesome. Well, now I'm really glad I asked that question, because I haven't asked everybody about the, and you were so resilient in sticking with the book. It took you so many hours and so much
Well,
heart.
here's the thing. I actually wrote it like between 2 and 4 years ago. And then I just like a year and a half ago, I sent it out to publishers, and it took me so long to write the publishing letter and everything. And I heard back from none of them. And I was so devastated, but inside it was like, I didn't want to put my energy into it. Cause when you put your energy into a book that's like this level of depth and medical and like 300 pages long, it takes all of you. And I didn't want to do it. So I think I intentioned the publishers not to find me. I think it was my self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mhm.
Um, and then it's just during quarantine, it was just the perfect time. And so that's where the resiliency came in. It was this voice that said, now's your time. You got to do this, even though this is going to be like, I didn't know it was going to be fun. If that voice had said 5 months, 40 hours a week, I'd be like, no freaking way, forget it. But I just started doing it, and it was like, you just have to keep going. Like, you can't put down the pen now. You just can't stop. That's my resilience. I'm always hardcore like that. With all my programs, sometimes it's taking so much long time. I want to just like stop. Actually, that's one of my New Year's resolutions, is not to put so much time and energy into things that aren't showing light at the end.
Right.
But the light is now at the
Yes.
end.
I'm hearing that you're just really aware of timing. I love your consciousness around that, because a lot of people would have taken that, that first refusal from publishers to mean something about them, and instead you were able to flex through it and then look back on it and say, well, it was that I didn't want to dive all the way into it. And now here you are, you're on the other side of it, and you've got not
Yeah.
only a book, but a workbook.
Yeah. There was too many processes. I thought it was just gonna be one book, but I started writing all these exercises. And I'm like, nobody wants to do like a 5-page exercise in the middle of reading a book. So that was what
Right.
I mean. Yeah.
Yes. I've actually found a lot of books that I feel drawn to, and then there's just a ton of exercises in it. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, to have that be a separate piece. That's
Exercise
awesome.
in the book is really, it's meant to be done in a group. That's why I put the suggestion out there to bring together a group to do it. Sort
Yeah.
of like the Louise Hayes healing group, so this is an intentional week by week. There's 10 specific exercises that each of them can be done in an hour. It can take a full
Yeah.
hour to actually do, because it's really deep work.
Yeah.
So it's fun to do that kind of stuff with a group.
Yes, I'm looking forward to following you. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your work, experiencing more of your work. And I'm feeling called to share that there's someone watching whose life is going to change from working with you.
Mm.
What would you like to say to that person?
I Here's the thing. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I struggled for so long, and I felt so isolated in my experience of being on the outside, and like some really whatever you're going through. No, first of all, that I could relate to that. And because I've healed so much of my own internal wounding, and that you don't have to do it yourself. If I had known that there was a healer like me out there, like way back then I would have loved to have that. And probably most people who find me have already done a great deal of self-help work already. I don't really work with beginners.
Mhm.
And there's this time where sometimes in a session, I'll just be like, you're working really hard. You just need to sit back and let me do it. And then through the Reiki, I'll just release the anxiety and shame, whatever is going on. You know, you do need to do a lot of work to a certain point, but then there's a point that you can actually let somebody else reach in there and give you some relief.
Mm.
That's the exciting thing. I never experienced that until I came into the healing world, because it was always like, oh, I have to do it myself, and then this one, and I'm always going to be alone and isolated. But it doesn't have to be that way. So I'm
Mm.
so glad you found me.
Wow, I love that. I love your relatability and willingness to share where you've been. It's Shara Ogin. It has truly been a pleasure. I'm so
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful for the partnership, for the team, for the teamwork. You're definitely an expert in this area, and I really hope that you helped open some eyes a little wider, maybe open some hearts a little wider. And I really hope that each of you viewers, I really hope that you click on the link below and allow yourself to receive a beautiful gift from Shara, whether you get to spend time with her or whether you get to move through the workbook and then hopefully you reach out to her and get to work with her even more. But this has been so beautiful. Yes, show us your book, Unlocking the Body's Wisdom.
This is author copy, so it looks a little different. Your copy will look a little
Yeah.
different. Yeah,
Yeah,
Unlocking.
but they're beautiful though. I love the covers. I know you said the line was because it's the publisher's edition, but those are beautiful. I'm excited to continue following and experiencing your work. And
Thank you.
and so this has been Living Limitless, Play Your Way to Freedom. I'm Andrea Luzon. Today we spoke with Shara Ogin, and I just look forward to seeing you here next time and continuing to share this work. Thank you.